Welcome to my live. It is 4 o'clock Mountain Standard Time today on December 6th. I wanted to make with you a really cute little simple card. I apologize if there's some buffering going on. I have discovered that 4 o'clock in the afternoon is not a good time for me to do live because my kids are home and they're all using the internet, and I think that it is messing with my live. Plus, there's a lot of noise in the background. Anyway, this is a super simple technique, and I'm going to do something a little bit different than just with this. We're going to just be using some Distress Oxides by Ranger as well as some Distress inks. And these are the Distress Oxides that we're going to be using today. Mowed Lawn, Lucky Clover, Candied Apple, and then our Distress inks that we're using are going to be Twisted Citron, Pine Needles, and Evergreen Bow. So the first thing I want to do is I want to stamp my image, and this is a layering image, so I like to use a stamping platform. It is this image by Close to My Heart, and it is called the Merry Christmas Tree. I'm going to be stamping on a 4.25 by 5.5 piece of stamping specialty paper by Ranger. And I'm just going to line it up like so. And we're going to first stamp the Christmas tree kind of in the center right there. I'm going to start with this one first. And we're going to use the Lucky Clover on this one. I'm just going to line it up like so. And I'm going to pick it up. And since this is that stamping paper, it really likes to stick. So I don't use a magnet because I just keep it flush in the corner of my stamping platform. So I just keep pushing it over, and that tends to hold it just fine. So I'm just going to ink this up really well. And the reason why I'm using this is because I'm going to emboss it, and then we're going to do our background afterwards. So I'm just going to take this and go ahead and push it over like so. And then from here, I'm going to clean off this stamp real quick, and we're going to put the next stamp on. And it will not dry entirely, and even if it does, it's okay because I'm going to set it with my heat gun. And the reason why I want to use the Distress Oxide on my tree is because I don't want it to move around. I want it to be able to stay relatively where it is without having to worry about it moving with water. And so I'm going to set it. I'm going to heat set it with, and just to make sure, I'm going to heat set it with some embossing powder, just to make sure that I get it really well. So for this one, what I like to do is I like to go over and line up the image just kind of right on top like so, just to make sure that I have it where I want it, and that looks pretty good. And then I flip this over, and I actually just place this on here like so. And actually, I did that backwards. I'm with it. We're going to put it on like this because this makes more sense. So we're just going to line it up. So I'm going to place this on right, line it up perfectly on here. And I'm still having a brain fart. You guys, I swear, I think I need more coffee. The joys of live. The joys of alive. You get to see me go, what's she doing? Okay, and then that moved it, so there we go. All right, so from there, now I'm going to do this one in a different color. So let me go ahead, pick that up, and then for this one, we're going to do it in Mowed Lawn. Going to take and pop this down like so, And then I'm going to heat emboss the whole thing with some Kaleidoscope clear embossing powder. And then once I emboss it, I will go through and add in those red dots and emboss it again. But I like to do this first. All right, and then you know that it's embossed when it is shining. I'm watching it crystallize right before my eyes. Then you can even turn it over and just emboss it on from the back so that it melts forward. Sometimes I like to do that to make sure I got all of it. Okay, and then from here, I am going to use my platform once again just to add my little red dots, but I'm going to do something a little bit different at the end. I'm not going to, I did use liquid glass on the last one, and I don't like how the liquid glass laid on this stamping paper, so I'm going to put some gems over those red dots, and I'm going to go in with my candied apple and just pop them on the spaces that have been provided for me. And then we'll go in and do the background. And I am doing a green background just because some of this Distress Oxide did not necessarily get set, and so it'll move around and it'll be a really pretty type watercolor effect going on. And the embossed image allows for like a resist technique, so it'll resist the ink a little bit, and you can actually be able to move it around a bit. And I'm just kind of randomly popping those little ink, those little blobs in different locations. And so from here, I'm going to just take this, and once again, just gonna put right, I'm gonna emboss it one more time with those, and then we get to do the fun part, which I think is the fun part, and that is the background. All right, so we're gonna put that up over here. All right, so we are done with our Distress Oxides for this. So now the ink that we're going to be using is going to be the Distress ink itself. And this I'm using because I love that it can move around, and I can just get some really cool water effects with this. So the colors that I'm using is Citron, Evergreen Bough, and Pine Needles. And I store mine in the bottom like so. I'm going to start off with my lightest first. And I'm just going to work from the outside of that image. I'm just going to work that in throughout. And since it is green and that red has been set, it's not going to discolor the image at all. It's just going to stay that beautiful green, which I think is so fun. I love it. And I like to just get the whole thing kind of in this lighter green. And then we will go in with our next dark color, our light color, which is going to be Evergreen. Again, we'll do that one right here. And I'm just going to start off the edge and just kind of move it in here. And since we're staying within the same color tones, I don't really have to worry about getting mud. It's not really going to happen. All right, and then let me go ahead and finish off with some pine needles, and then we will give this a spurts of water and let this distress ink move. You know what's funny is between distress ink and distress oxide, I am a distress ink girl. I don't know why. I know that like distress oxide usually tends to be what everybody raves about, but I just love distress ink. I love that it moves. I don't know. It's just so weird. I've always kind of favored it. All right. So that's looking pretty. And so now let's spritz it with some water, and we'll let that water react with the ink for a little bit, and then we will finish up our card. We're going to put our sentiment on it as well, and we're actually going to use some the Distress Archival ink for our sentiment and our inking of our edges. So let me just, and I'm just doing some slow squirts because I want some big drops in there. And see how that's moving around, and the image is staying relatively put, which is what we want. So I'm going to go over, and I'm just going to pick this up with my towel, and now I have a really pretty image. So from here I'm going to go ahead and actually hit it with a heat gun again, because I do want to ink the edges and put a sentiment on it, so I don't want it wet. So I'm going to take this once again, pull out my stamp platform, and I want to do Merry Christmas on here with this stamp set. So I'm going to do Merry up at the top, and then we're going to do Christmas down here, and I'm just going to keep it pretty classic, and then we're going to amp it up with a little bit of some beautiful ribbon and some jewels and some gems. So this is going to go right about there. Pick it up with my stamp platform like so, and I'm going to be using my black soot archival ink on this. And I like to use the archival ink on this because I know that even though this is water reactive, my archival ink is not. So even if I get it wet again, it's not going to go anywhere, which is what I want. All right. And now from here, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna trim that down a little bit to a 4 and 5.25 measurement because I want to ink the edges and mat it on a beautiful gold card base just to make it really pop. So let me get my paper trimmer. So I'm going to cut 1/8 of an inch off of each side. So for this one, I'm going to bring it down to about there. The reason why I'm doing it off of each side is because I have it relatively centered up nicely, so I don't want to mess with the centering. So that's 4 now, and let's get this down to 5.25 so we can put it on a typical A2 card front. All right, almost done with that. Using that same black archival ink, the black suit, I am going to go ahead and just ink the edges on this. I have to tell you that the stamping paper from Ranger is really amazing. It's some good stuff. Okay, so from here, I want to go ahead and take my green ribbon and I'm going to add it to the edge. And I'm going to do that before I pop it on my card base, just because it will provide a little bit more stability and it just looks cleaner, I think, than when I try to pop it on over the card base after I have it already done. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm just going to run a line of glue up this side because that's where I want this to go. And I'm just using my art glitter glue. I really like it. And you can flip it over like so, just to, you know, line it up nicely. And I got that a little bit too close to the edge, so I need to go ahead and center that up a little bit better. There we go. And you know, you can use the grid obviously on the side of your glass mat. There we go. And then this doesn't take very long to adhere, so I can put it on the card front. And then I've already taken a piece of 8.5 by 11 beautiful metallic-y gold cardstock, cut it down in half, and then scored it in the middle. That gives me no waste, and I have a beautiful card base. So I get 2 cards out of 1 piece of paper with no waste. And then I'm just going to pop this on. I have these 3, actually I'm only going to use 2 of these beautiful jewels. And I'm just going to add them up here, and then I'm going to put some of these little ink road stamp gems on top of my bulbs that I have right there. So I'm just going to pop these on first. And again, my art glitter glue works just fine for this project. I like that. It's a universal glue, so it'll hold. Nothing's too heavy. I suppose if I was getting more mixed media, I would definitely have a different glue. All right, and then from here, I'm just going to pop on each of these a dollop of glue, And I'm not going to pay much attention to the colors that I'm laying down. I want it to be random, so if I get all the same color, oh well. If I get a couple different ones, that's great too. But I want it just to be more random than anything else. So I'm just going to pop those gems down. And of course, you know how it goes when you do this, you always end up with more of them upside down on the opposite way that you need. And again, I'm just taking these and we're gonna just kind of jazz up this card. No rhyme, no reason. Oop, got that one. Nope, that's right side up. I thought it was upside down, but it's not. That's not on one. And that is how you can make a relatively simple card in, well, gosh, 20 minutes roughly. Not bad, right? Okay, you guys, I certainly hope that you enjoyed these lives that I've done this week. I just kind of decided last minute to do it. I thought it would be fun to come on and just, make some Christmas cards because I needed a couple more for some of the swaps that I'm in. So I hope that you enjoyed it and that it gave you some inspiration to do your own cards. If you're interested in anything that I used, I do have it listed down below, the shops that you can get it from. They are affiliated, so I do make a little bit of a percentage off of them, but no additional charge to you guys. And